He's coming right to left. There he is, right there. Hear my dad whispering to me.
Just like real life, you know?
Yep, yeah, no, for real.
So we're looking for this turkey coming in on the right side of your screen here.
Right to left.
So exciting, man. Like reliving the moments.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad we have this footage.
Now, these are Eastern turkeys?
Yep. South Carolina Easterns.
It looks so different than where we hunt, you know?
Yeah, I wish the... Oh, there he is.
There it is, right there.
He came in quick.
Yep. He's seeing good.
Yeah, baby! Got him, baby! Go get him! Get your foot on!
Yeah, that's my dad.
Get your foot on him.
Foot on. You don't want him to fly off, you know?
That's a classic dad right there.
No, Kirk says the same thing.
Get your foot on him.
Yeah, don't let him get out.
Stomp him out.
Yeah.
You did everything up to that point, and then if you don't take the right precautions, they can get up and run away.
Oh, they'll get up and take off.
Yep.
Yeah, they'll get up and start running away from you. So
Yeah, they'll fly like they ain't even been hurt. You know.
Just depends on the location they get hit, but that looked like a good one, man.
Yeah, that TSS Apex ammunition puts a hammer on them. You know.
Yeah.
It's worth the money you pay for it.
So today we're here with Cameron Spires. We got the privilege to hunt with him this last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We left on Friday. We hunted Saturday. We hunted Sunday. And Cameron had, I don't want to say a rude awakening, but a realization of the differences between what we just watched, South Carolina swamp bottom.
Yep.
Creek bottom hunt versus what we do in Eastern Washington. And today we're going to talk about that and just see what his experience was like and see how we did.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So now,
Hey, everybody, if you are looking for a game call that is elk, turkey, deer, predator calls, waterfowl calls, we highly recommend PhillipsGameCalls.com. Professional grade game calls made for every hunter.
welcome back to the Ridgeline Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Phelps Game Calls, with your hosts, David Crane and David Sandana. Crazy. All right. Man, this last weekend was exciting for me. This was our second weekend turkey hunting.
Yeah.
So last weekend, we went out with Cameron, but the weekend before that, you and I went out alone.
Yep.
You may have seen the video. You may have seen... actually, the video's not even out yet.
No, so we do have a short where I asked David how his morning was going on YouTube, and he kind of explains what was going on. And yeah, we had a successful hunt, and it was a lot of fun. And the video will be out here soon. I actually just got done exporting it. We all just watched it right before we started
Looks good.
the podcast, and I pretty much got 2 thumbs up. So
Yep.
I exported it, and it will be coming out, I'm going to say next Friday. So when you guys actually hear this, it's going to be that Friday. We're going to have a new video out, and it's basically David Sandana going to work.
Putting the hurt on them.
Hey, I couldn't have done it alone, you know. It's a group thing.
No, it was
excellent.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I finally got to show Sandana that I can call turkeys.
That's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah.
Well, we've been, just him and I, when we go out turkey hunting, we've been skunked, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And finally, we got it done, and it was exciting for me. It was definitely exciting for Dave, and it was awesome.
Yeah, I still like, you can just sit there and reimagine like every emotion you went through, every little thing you were thinking. Mm-hmm. We just watched Cam's video, and I could see that he was like into it. Like he's like, man, I remember that day, like this, you know. And then his dad's in there, he's like, go put your foot on him. He's like, that's my dad. Yep. Just tell me what to do, you know. And,
Yep.
you know, just walking the ropes. So why don't you introduce yourself and let everybody know where you're from and what you do and how you got here.
Sure. My name's Cameron Spires. I'm from South Carolina. I lived there for pretty much all my life. hunting creek bottom just like that for deer, turkeys, whatever you name it, squirrels. Joined the Navy, and I got out here in Washington, and then I actually moved to Virginia, then came back to Washington because of my wife and her family. Then I met David Crane, over at a shooting range in Tacoma, and just kind of hit it off from there. Started listening to the podcast, and then eventually got to meet Sandana last weekend, and just been kind of hanging out since, you know.
So we're
been
officially
awesome.
on a last name basis now.
Yeah. Well, it was on the car drive over, and he's like, well, when I met Dave, and then did Dave this, and then I was like,
We're both
just,
like, what?
Yeah, it's just Crane and Sandana.
I never knew which David to say. You know, you get confused.
It was funny. So this last weekend we took you out to our spot in Eastern Washington, and it's public land, so anybody can go there. What were you expecting on the way over? I mean, because you said I'm not even going to sleep tonight, and
Yeah.
I don't think you really did. But
No, I didn't. I got like 30 minutes.
but he was up before us.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he was up walking around. He came back in. He's like, "You guys plan on hunting yet?" Or like, what's going on? You know, and it was like 5:30.
I'd woke up at probably 4. I think we got into camp, 1 a.m.?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I woke up at like, you know, I didn't really sleep, but I got up at 4:25. First gobble, I heard 4:25, and then I was like, oh my God, I ain't gonna be able to sleep. Sandana's over here snoring away, and I was like, come on, man. In my head, I'm like, dang, they gobbling right now. And then that one gobbled, and then 3 more fired up, and I was just like, there ain't no way I'm going back to sleep now. So I got up, brushed my teeth, put on my clothes, and I was just walking around the truck freaking taking videos, just listening to them. Because, you know, it's a different gobble than what you hear with an Eastern. So it's just cool hearing them talk, you know, hearing them do their thing. It's a completely different experience.
Yeah, that was cool, man. I felt bad because I woke up, I heard the gobble. Like, you know, that's the alarm clock. Because I had set my alarm clock, but maybe I didn't switch it to on, you know, and so I was like, all of a sudden I sprung open. I was like, oh man, there's gobbling. And I look over where Cam was sleeping. He's not even there.
Sandana looks at me. He's like, Crane, hey, get up, man. Cam is not in the tent. And I was like, what? And Cam walks in. He's like, you guys plan on getting up? Like, they are firing off. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Pump the brakes.
I felt bad. I want to let you guys sleep. We got there super late.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all right, man.
Yeah.
I understand when you want to hunt and something's going on and things are firing off, like the blood starts going and the thoughts start going in.
Oh,
it's like,
I was on Onyx, like, okay, well, if they're gobbling there, we can get to this ridge and that high point and cut them off there. And then I'm texting my dad. I'm like, there's like 4 turkeys gobbling right now, man. Just fired up about it.
It was good, man. So when we started out, we were on relatively flat terrain.
Right. Yep.
And then we started going uphill. What was that like for you?
So, as you can clearly see from the video, South Carolina's fairly flat. It's got some drainages, and some hills. But compared to what we were hunting in this past weekend, it is amazing to me that turkeys live in that they thrive in it almost. You know, like northeastern Washington's got one of the best turkey populations probably in the whole United States compared to most places. But just the steepness and the elevation gain and the vastness of it, you know, you could see it. You could hear a turkey from 3 miles away. You know, you get up on top of one of them hills and there's no wind. He could be gobbling 3 miles away, but, you know, you ain't going to get to him because you're going to have to climb Mount Everest. You know, that ain't a joke, people. I'm telling you, it is a hike.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's a different experience, you know. Like, I love doing this stuff, but also I love experiences. And that is an experience that you don't get hunting down there, you know, which is what's cool about coming out here and meeting people and being able to experience stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, the hunt was full of excitement as well because it didn't take long before we were actually on birds, and you know, we came over the top. There's this little fence line. We like to say this is where the hunt usually begins, because once we cross that, we know there's going to be turkeys over there.
Yeah.
And we got over the top of that fence, and Cam was calling. I think Cam, you did the first calls, didn't you? About over the hill.
Maybe. I can't really remember, honestly. I was too focused on the gobbles, but
I'll tell you,
Maybe.
I was watching you, and you were like a bird dog. As soon as you heard it, that way.
I was on it.
Yeah, you're like, they're right down there. Here's what we got to do. You know, it was super funny because the birds they're a little different, you know, and I have nothing to compare those two with what you're doing, but to see your excitement, to see how you just instantly went into like this tactician mode of like, here's the ambush, here's what we're gonna do. You know, we got down, we set up, and I thought the birds were gonna come right to our lap. I mean, I thought you were gonna get one for sure.
Yeah.
That first setup we had was really good.
It's always hard when, like, that's one thing I noticed about the elevation, because on this terrain, it's real easy. I mean, I won't say it's real easy, but it's more noticeable about where the turkey's kind of located. Like, okay, he's on this side of the creek bottom, or he's on that side, or he's behind some thickets. You know, he's behind a briar patch, so we got to get around there and go around him. But when you're up high and there's all that topography, it's real hard to actually locate where they're at. So, like, Crane kept mentioning, like, well, dude, they sound like they're right there, but they're actually on this other piece of private. And to me, it was hard to, like, kind of, like, start really grasping that, because, you know, there you hear a gobble. He's in shooting range almost. Like, he's coming in most of the time. So it was the first morning was real difficult for me to understand the difference in the topography and having to really pay attention to what the gobble sounded like, if it was echoing at all, stuff like that. You know, it's kind of hard to pick up on at first. You
do get a lot of echoes, you know.
Especially in those bottoms.
Yeah, because everything just comes off those ridges, man. And it'll bounce off whatever. And it'll sound like they're close. And then all of a sudden, when you really start glassing it up and you see, like, oh, that Tom's actually gobbling for, like, 900 yards down this way.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you hear another one, like, ooh, that one sounds even closer. But then it's on another ridge and another gully, you know, and it really just puts into perspective that the terrain that you're in is not a guarantee of, like, where this bird is actually at and where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Which makes it hard, right? But it also gets you to play that chess game with the bird, which we played a lot of chess.
A lot of losing chess.
Yeah, a lot of chess, and then we were on the losing side. I was actually discouraged because the weekend before that, the birds were just coming in 2 by 2 all over the dang place, and it was just like, yeah. So we were like, yes, the weather's going to be better. It's going to be a little bit warmer. Blah blah blah. Well, the weather
ended up not being better.
Had nothing to do with what the birds were going to do. So don't depict your hunt on what the weather is like, because that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I've come to find that out.
Yeah.
Because it's all about what the hens are doing and what the hens want those toms to do, because from this hunt, what we found out was that the toms were not leaving the hens for nothing. It didn't matter. Like, they were not coming off the hens. And we hunted from early morning till at night, and the toms were just sticking with the hens the whole time. They were not breaking off, and that made it extremely difficult. I think if we would have been able to stay till Monday, Tuesday, so today's Wednesday, if we would have been able to stay for that whole time, I think we would be tagged out, all of us.
We had good opportunities.
This weekend would be a good one, but I'm leaving.
Yeah,
I'm leaving out of town. So
we had. I had a really good chance, you know, and it was like the first day we were just, I thought they were coming up, you know, and it was weird because you'd have 3 guys on the same little knob and you hear a gobble and everybody's pointing a different direction.
Yeah, you ever see all the little Spider-Mans?
Like, it's over here. No, it's over here. I swear, down this way. And it was just so confusing because just depending on where how that sound deflects off the you know, the topography of the hillside, if there's a bunch of trees over to the right, or, you know, it was really weird. Whereas the weekend before, we had a similar thing, but, you know, we had the tom came in that I ultimately bagged but that was by himself. And this weekend we didn't have that there wasn't not many toms by themselves.
No, not at all.
None of them. I don't.
We did see lone hens, and
yeah, we saw a lot of that.
The noon time, you know, middle of the day.
We saw some birds kind of at night. We didn't really know exactly what they were. We think they were hens, but one of them could have been a tom.
It was like 3 of them, right?
Yeah. We were trying to get them to go into their roost to try to figure out a game plan for Sunday, because we were doing just a weekend warrior hunt. And man, we were just striking out. It was a serious chess game with these birds, and we were just on the losing side of it. It was really frustrating, and I was actually just frustrated because I wanted to get Cam out here. He's not going to be here in Washington anymore. He's moving at the beginning of next year, and he's never been able to experience this type of hunt, which he got to experience it, but it would have been a little bit better if we been able to experience a tom coming in. If we would have got a shot on one or not, who knows, but at least he would have been able to see a nice Miriam strutting in
with the white tips, man.
Yeah,
it's all about the white tips.
Doing its thing, and he didn't get to experience that. But hopefully here in the next couple weeks, we'll be able to get him out again and try again.
Attempt number 2.
Yeah, try again.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, in our last podcast, we were talking about us trying to go for the slam.
The Washington Slam.
Which, that ain't happening. We're running out of time. At least for me.
The Easterns here, they're not really prevalent.
Well, it's like under 1%.
1%, of the state harvest.
Yeah, is an Eastern. So, I mean, that's difficult. So you almost need to get your Miriam and your Rio very fast.
Yeah, like
and then all your other time needs to be on an Eastern, which I don't even know where they're at. So I've seen some feathers here and there. That's about it.
Well,
the hard birds in the spot that I can't hunt.
Yeah, time and distance. They're probably 250 miles apart from where you're going to hunt them.
Yes.
So the time and the distance is one issue we're running into. The second one is I know where to find an Eastern because we've hunted down where the Easterns are and we've found the feathers of Easterns. So
it's just actually finding them to shoot them.
To tag one is a whole nother thing. But I have zero idea where to find a Rio. I know they're in Northeast Washington someplace. But that to me it seems like the hard one. If I was in an area, it wouldn't be as difficult if I knew where to go. So now I'm doing research, right? I know where to get an Eastern. I know where to get a Miriam. I have to do the Rio investigation, find out where that's at.
Yeah. And so if anybody is watching and you hunt turkeys in Washington State,
DM me.
Yeah, DM any one of us. It'd be good. Yeah. We get some good information.
Just give me the county.
Yeah. We don't need to know exact pinpoint, but it
would be nice.
The county would be great.
knowing some areas. Yeah.
And don't say the Okanagan. It's a huge county.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, man. So this next weekend, Dave will be out of town.
Yep.
Cam, what do you got planned?
I really don't know. I don't want to say anything because I don't know what my wife might have planned for us.
Yeah.
So I don't like just saying I don't have nothing planned.
Yeah.
Because then I'll tell her I got plans and she'll be like, "Well, I had this planned. So what the heck?"
Well, I'm thinking I'm going to get back out next weekend.
The following weekend?
Yeah.
May 12th?
So
yeah, correct.
Just to let you know, that's Mother's Day weekend.
So
I already got the A-OK for that weekend. So.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I know you guys got more entangled.
Yeah.
You guys got kids.
Because that was my plan as well. And then I was like, when is Mother's Day this year? And I was like, it's that weekend.
Throw a bone. Throw us an extra weekend. DFW.
Yeah, I know exactly. So we'll try to get that game planned. If that doesn't work out, then we'll have to pick a different date.
One of these weekends.
Maybe
we got 2 weeks left.
Drag the wife with me.
Bring her out there.
Take the kids camping or something.
Yeah.
So I think what we experienced was as you had said, they were henned up. Mm-hmm. The weekend we went, the initial weekend, they weren't henned up.
But see, the weekend before that, they were henned up. The opening weekend. So.
Oh, because you went over there?
Well, no, I was in a different area, but I mean, in the spot that I was in, they were henned up too. And they were quiet and everything. Mm-hmm. So we almost had that kind of experience, except for our first day, they were hot, bothered, ready to go, but they weren't committed to coming in, which was okay, which is fine. We hunted that whole day. We hunted Saturday. We heard some gobbles, and the morning was fired up, and then mid-afternoon or mid-morning, I would say closer to 10, 11 o'clock, they were fired up again, and then all of a sudden there was nothing.
Yeah.
And then it made for a very frustrating Sunday. So we heard one gobble. One.
Well, you know what's crazy? I told you this. I don't know if I told you this weekend, though, but my first season hunting public land, I didn't hear a single gobble. Not one. So just hearing like even one gobble to me on public land is like, awesome. Like there's birds on the public land that you're hunting that's available. And that's why I feel like Northeast Washington has like one of the better turkey hunting opportunities because there are birds on public land. In Virginia, some of the public land I hunted on opening day, there'd be like 80 trucks in the parking lots. Like not even joking. We had 1 year, me and two of my buddies went out. We had like 6 guys walk up on us. Jeez. I mean, that's just how it is over there because the parcels aren't as big. We weren't hunting like super big parcels, but there was enough land available to where someone's at that gate. All right, I'll just go to the next gate. Over there in Virginia, it wasn't like that, man. And the only way I killed a gobbler that first year on public land was sitting up where I knew turkeys had been cruising, hanging out, and I think I sat there for like 5 total hours. Eventually, 2 of them came walking by and popped one of them. But no gobbles my entire first season on public land.
So how many people did we see this weekend, would you say?
Less than 10.
And that was in a pretty big area. When we
drove to a bunch of gates.
Yeah.
So the pressure was definitely more spread than what I'm used to.
Well, we only saw 2 people on the ground.
Well, yeah, but we saw like trucks and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was other people hunting around the general area.
Yeah.
But when we were in the woods, I mean, we only had those 2 people that we run into. But we were cruising to a new location when we spotted them, and they were traveling a road on foot.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like if we were sitting there up on the hill still, that we wouldn't have seen anybody.
No, there wasn't nobody up on top of that hill because ain't nobody want to walk up that.
And now you know why we do that.
Yeah. No, that's the way you got to do it is to get away from them, go where other people won't.
And that's interesting because all these turkey hunting TV shows and things you see on a lot of times it's a lot of private land. And one thing we take for granted, I feel, is that we have so much public land and opportunities, even in some instances it may not be the best opportunity. At least we don't have 80 trucks at one gate,
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. I've seen quite a bit of trucks at gates, but usually, so in that area where we used to hunt, or we still hunt elk, that's the main gate, but you're looking at like hundreds of thousands of acres to hunt. So it's like 80 trucks can be there and you still won't see somebody when you get to your spot.
Yeah, there's like 380 some thousand acres or something there.
It's nuts. It's ridiculous.
The piece I saw with 80 trucks was like 1,500 acres, and it was nothing but swamp. So it's like...
So you're only held up in a couple spots because the rest of it's like unhuntable.
Yeah, it's pretty much, if you going in there, you got on hip waders, And there would be people, so it was like, the way they had it lined out was a gravel road and then 3 gravel roads that kind of went down off that gravel road, and there'd be gates. And the main gravel road, there was probably like 20 trucks. And they had like a soybean field. There was like 12 ground blinds in that field. And then each gate had like 10 or 12 trucks.
No wonder people get shot all the time, man.
It's ridiculous down there.
If you're not using the right shot, like, you're going to...
Or if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, you're going to get wasted.
Well, then we had people, like, the people walked up on us, like, they were like wearing hunter orange, which I get for safety reasons, but like...
You ain't seeing no turkeys.
Yeah, I was like, come on, man, you turkey hunting, you gonna wear orange? What you was ruining the hunt for everybody else? Walking up to the woods with orange on.
Yeah, just looking like a highlighter, just walking through the woods. Like, they see in color.
They're gonna see you a mile away, and they're gonna go to the next county.
Yeah.
It was on the border of North Carolina, so I think a lot of them birds just... Because there was nothing but agriculture on the other side. So I think a lot of them birds got pushed up out of there and on the North Carolina land. And obviously we can't hunt that without a license. Yeah. So a lot of us were just screwed on that area. Yeah. I did know one guy who got a bird there. But the way he did it was, remember I was telling you guys, like, maybe we should do like some soft calling and stuff. And that's kind of why I get that way, is because I'm used to heavily pressured birds where they just like a little, little just soft stuff. And that's what that guy told me he did. He said he just sat down for like 8 hours and was just and eventually had one gobble and come in. So sometimes it's just different birds like different stuff.
Yeah,
especially depending on pressure.
And that's the chess game too, right? So like the birds that we were hunting that weekend, for some reason they like it freaking loud, like ear-piercingly loud. It just gets them going.
Yeah.
And I notice if you do any putting, they're not going to come around because like the hens that put means that there's something wrong over there.
Well, it's like it's all about the turkey language. It's like learning a new language. It's about how you put. If you just did like a put, yeah, that means your alarm, something's wrong. But if you do like a put, yep, click, click,
Yeah.
put, that's just a turkey
That's
talking.
just them mingling around.
So that's why when like I had the mouth call, I would do like a couple putts and a couple yelks and a couple clucks just to keep it like a conversation, And that's what I was telling you guys up in Hody Project guy. That's what I learned from him. That's something I learned is like when we be walking around and I just be doing this soft like put, cluck, cluck, yep, yep, yep. He says to do that because then it sounds more realistic. Like when you're walking through the woods,
Something's moving along.
Mm-hmm. Because if a turkey just heard like crunch, 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 they're not going to believe that that's a hen, when you sit down 10 yards later and you start calling. But if you're soft yelping, clucking, even trying to throw in some purrs, if you can purr on a mouth call, kudos to you. I haven't figured it out yet. But if you can master all those things and figure out like how to approach the turkey with being quiet and act like a hen and figure out the turkey language, that's like a big key to success. It's figuring out how in there, because they're a social group. They got a hierarchy. They've got dominant toms, dominant hens. They got the subordinates. They've got the younger Jakes and Jennies. So if you can figure out how all those kind of mingle with each other in a flock and then incorporate that into your hunt, I feel like that's when you just take yourself from like a novice turkey hunter to a knowledgeable turkey hunter. It's a difference in the chess game. You go from losing every time to you might get a checkmate here and there.
Yeah, and those come in. They happen. I mean, we experienced it 2 weekends ago, and we were one turkey thought away from having all of us frickin' smack a turkey.
There was enough turkeys out there we all could have tagged out twice.
Yep, that was the plan.
Yeah.
But it just didn't happen, and that's hunting. I mean, that's just one of those things. But that was the other thing I was going to get to with hunting with you. We hunt with a lot of people that are very new to any style. It doesn't even matter what it is.
Yeah.
It was great to go out there and have someone that knows how to call.
Yeah.
And like he basically took over calling. And it was great for myself to learn some of these other things. And even for Dave, he was learning some new calls with the mouth reads because he really likes using the mouth reads.
Yeah, it's fun, dude.
And I'm just not good at. I can elk call, no problem.
We're going to get you figured out. I'm going to buy you like a 6-pack, and then we're going to sit down, and you're going to go through every single one, and we're going to figure it out. You'll get one that just sounds real pretty, and that'll be the one you use.
Yeah. But that was awesome. That was something cool that actually for me to sit back and learn from someone that's half my age.
Yeah. literally.
Almost, yeah.
Pretty close.
We'll just call it half.
Yeah, close enough.
It was really cool. It was an experience for me and for Dave as well to learn something new that we can use in our arsenal for future turkey hunts and
turkey toolbox, man.
Yeah, you got to keep it going.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to keep it
always
going.
be learning, And that's what I love about turkey. Like, if I had to give up all hunting and just do turkey hunting, I'd be fine. It is the one thing that springtime comes around. That's the only thing I honestly think about it year round, but springtime especially, there's not a day that don't go by I don't think about it. So that's why I've kind of I really didn't dive into it till about 3 years ago, and that's when I really started figuring out kind of calling on like the slate call and stuff. That's my favorite one to use. I'm sure y'all learned that over the weekend. The slate call. But I just would sit there. My wife eventually got so pissed off. She'd tell me just go sit in the truck. Because I'd just be sitting there for hours. I would watch like live hen audio, and then I would like play it. And I'd sit there for an hour and just mimic it as best I could until I got it to kind of where I wanted it. Obviously, I'm no expert. I still got a lot to learn. But it just takes practice, It just takes time, especially like the best learning is experience, and failure is always a good opportunity to learn. So like this weekend, we learned that henned up turkeys, they'll gobble at you. They'll talk to you all freaking day, but they ain't gonna come to you.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to either figure out where they're going, where their hens are taking them, or you're gonna have to figure out a way to like sit there and stay still for like hours and wait for them to work their way back. Because it seems like not every bird, but most birds have like a habit. Especially like you guys have been hunting there for a couple of years, and it seems like they kind of got a little routine down.
Yeah.
So if you just figure out like a routine, even it's not got to be like down to the tree, No one's gonna do that. You'd be a freaking God if you could do
Turkey
that.
wizard.
Yeah, turkey wizard or something, you know? But if you could just figure out kind of like you found all that fresh scratching, and then we drove that road and we saw a hen going up the hill on the other side of the road. If you just figure out little things like that, and that's playing the chess game, you know? That's moving your pawn 2 spaces or moving your knight up and over 2. And now you're in a better position to get to their king, you know, which is the dominant tom in this situation. Mm-hmm. So you just put all those little pieces together, and eventually your mind will start figuring out. And once you learn to think like a turkey, which is the hardest part because, you know, we're not freaking turkeys. So it's hard to understand where their logic is coming from and stuff. But that's like, I feel like one of the big keys is figuring out how a turkey talks, their social hierarchy situation, and then just kind of where their habits lie in that area that you're hunting, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that you said that. They do have a routine in where we hunt. We always we have that fence boundary, and then we know this is our first spot we're going to call from. And then we're going to go over the top. Then we're going to go over here and we're going to call. And it's interesting because these birds, you have a lot to learn from them. And if you spend enough time where they're at, you have enough opportunity to do that type of patterning or recognize some sort of signal. You know, like this is a clue of this is what's going to happen here because it's happened 4 times in a row. Probably going to happen the 5th time.
Yep. And the only way a turkey will change up what they're doing is if you shoot and miss, or they like a wolf spooks them or a coyote spooks them. But if they're fine and happy and nothing's spooking them, they'll just do the same thing. I mean, that's what's easy for them, right? Mm-hmm. They feel safe. They feel comfortable. That's why we saw them 3 birds going back to roost on top of that hill because we hadn't spooked them all day, you know?
Yep.
So they were like, I like roosting up there. Nothing's up there. Let me just go roost.
And that previous weekend on Sunday, that's where they were going to. So I was like, when we went back over the ridge and you went down along the road or whatnot, Cam and I were like, I was like, Cam, we got to try to get to this spot because I know they come up from this hill and they start coming up, but I don't know exactly where, but we're kind of on the ridge that they were coming up from. So, yeah, they definitely have a pattern. They definitely have a pattern, and we kind of have it figured out, kind of.
Yeah.
But
what would you say is your biggest takeaway from your experience this last weekend?
Before we get into that, let's take a quick break.
Okay.
Clip it.
Recording, yeah.
I'm going to make sure I'm close enough to this thing.
There you go. Now you're definitely close enough.
Yeah, I want to make sure everybody can hear me.
So I'm going to start us off with. This section of the broadcast is brought to you by Burpaw, burpaw.com.
Use Ridge15 at checkout to receive a sweet discount. Archery hunters, listen up. If you find yourself in the heart of King County, do yourself a favor and stop in at Rock Creek Archery, located in Tukwila. They have everything you need if you're just beginning to the sport or you've been shooting for 20 years, even an indoor shooting range. Or check them out at rockcreekarchery.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We had just a teeny break. I know for you guys it's about 45 seconds just because of the
Intro.
Technology.
the little the sponsorship clips that we're using. But yeah, we were getting into, Cameron, what was your takeaway from this weekend's hunt, your first turkey hunt in Washington State?
They gobble a lot. And that's not just I know it's a stereotype for Merriam's, but it is truthful. We had those 4 birds in the bottom, they gobbled 1,000 times at one point. When the crows and the ravens went off, I felt like I was in a gobble fest, because with Easterns, it's not as often they gobble. They will every now and then. They call it like the double leak or something like that, where a gobbler will get another one fired up, and they'll just go back and forth like they're yelling at each other, basically. One of the bigger takeaways is if you're not prepared to go where the turkey's at, you're probably not going to get the turkey. There's a lot more walking involved, mainly because it's steep and vast, and there's a lot of land compared to back east. Like, the parcels just aren't that big. I had walked like 20 miles in one day on some public, but I covered every section. It wasn't like I just went straight out. I went out, back, stuff like that. That's probably the biggest one, honestly, is just the terrain difference and the, learning the topography, stuff like that, and the openness. There's like that little bit of like less than 5 foot tall underbrush, but that's it. Like in the Appalachian Mountains, it honestly kind of looks like that's where they're at right there in the picture. There's that mountain laurel, they'll call it, and in May, it is just so green that if the turkey's from me to you, that's the only time you're going to get to shoot them, It's just so thick.
Leafy.
Mm-hmm. A lot of green leaf, a lot of thorns. The oak trees are real green. It's just harder to see. And out here, it's just open for the most part. In eastern Washington, with those big pines and just a little bit of underbrush that helps you out in a lot of cases, because the turkeys, you got to get around that, get through that, or, to be able to see where you're at, where he thinks the hen is.
Yeah, we have some opportunity to get some good ambush spots.
Yeah.
And that's like that. I mean, it could be like that anywhere, really. But from going from, hunting the states that you've hunted in the east, coming to where we were, because we do have some areas where you can hunt flat. I don't know where they're at, but we do have them.
The farm fields in the valley.
Yeah, the farm fields in the valleys. Yeah, they're there, but the style that how we hunt, it just, I don't know, makes it that much funner, and it makes it that much more rewarding, because like,
it's a challenge.
Yeah, these are mountain turkeys. Like,
they're mountain goats, bro. These things ain't turkeys. The way that hen, I'm telling you, I've never seen a turkey run so fast upwards in my life. Like, even in the Appalachian Mountains, they don't run that fast. It was crazy to see how, like, agile she was. I mean, I've seen turkeys run, obviously, but it's been on, like, flat, dirt roads.
They just get going?
Yeah, they just get going, or they'll fly. 95% of the time, you spook at Eastern, he's gone. He's to the next county, So it was just cool seeing stuff like that, and the terrain, the stuff you were saying. Like, there are places that are flat. We saw the turkeys, or you saw, 80 turkeys in a field? Something crazy like that?
It was a bunch, yeah. That was our second day. Actually, the first day, the evening.
That was at the
day.
end.
First evening.
So we split up, and I went up to a northern section of state land, and then there was this farm field. There was probably like 20 cows in there, but they were on the backside. I saw a whitetail first. I was like, I'm gonna look at this whitetail, because right when I got to the gate where I was gonna park, I noticed that there was a whitetail in the field. So I walked over to the edge and I looked at the whitetail, and I was like, oh, there's a bunch of cows over there. And I looked and I was like, there's a shitload of turkeys too. And I got my binoculars up and I looked, and I probably at first saw maybe 20 toms, and then
it's crazy.
And they were all together. I mean, and I heard the hens yelping in the back in the corner. They were yip, 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 and they just kept going, yip, 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 and it was nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there. I was like, damn, I got to get them to me. I was like, I bet you I could call them across this field, because they're all, they're not with the hens. So I get out my box call and I start yelping on it. And they started coming my way, but they moved like 20 yards maybe towards me, maybe 3 or 4 of them. And then they started messing around, kind of doing a little half strut. And then I was like, it's going to take them a long time to get to me. So I gave them some more yelps, and they'd move a little closer. And maybe maximum they moved in maybe 40 yards. And there was a bunch of water, though, in that field. There was ducks and geese in there.
Yeah.
So they would have to go, unless they decided to go through it, right? But I figured that water might be an obstacle to them. They'd probably select like to go around it or not through it at all. So I thought I might be calling a turkey in from behind me too, because that's where I was going to go. So I decided I'm going to leave these guys alone. I'm just going to go with my plan, get in here, set up and call from in there. And if they make it over to me, that'd be fine. But as I was heading in, the road, like this little road you have to walk in on, it kind of made this arch, like a bridge. And I got down maybe like 80 yards, and I saw this tail fan stand up on the road. And that's all I saw was the top of the fan.
Yeah.
And at first I thought, holy shit. I was like, there's a
It's happening.
And then I crouched down real quick, and he was just down there strutting. He was strutting, and so I had decoys with me, so I laid them both down.
So, Sandana, you're not going to be able to see this if you're listening to the podcast, but if you want to see what I'm doing, you can head over to YouTube. But he has 2 decoys in his hands.
Baby crying.
Shotguns over the shoulder, and he's just like coming in. Like, oh, shoot.
Yeah, this big sucker, man. And so I just basically threw the Jake. I set the Jake down, and I took the hen, and I put her up on a stick, and I thought he was going to come over. So I put him like, the road was pretty hard. So I was on the side of the road. I'm trying to get the stick in the ground, and I can't see him anymore. So I know he can't see me because his fan's up. And so I'm like trying to get this thing in. And finally I found some soft enough ground. I got in maybe like 4 inches, and I was thinking, she's probably going to fall over when he comes over there. She's just going to go right on her side. I was like, please don't fall. So I put that next to the road, and then I scooted off the road maybe 6 feet, and there was some brush in front of me, and I was on my knees. I was just kind of bent real low. I was waiting for him to come over, and when he did, I was just going to pop up and shoot him. And I was waiting and waiting to the point where my back started like really throbbing from being like on my knees bent down. And he didn't come over, and I was like, curiosity got the best of me, and I was like, I should peek over that hill. And I went to peek, and I was moving maybe a centimeter at a time, maybe just like a half an inch. I'm looking, look, I'm getting up taller and taller, and look. I'm like, that little sucker ain't even here anymore.
Moved off.
So I moved over to the left side of the road. I crawled over to the left side of the road where the berm was, and I started working down the berm, staying low because there's like the berm and then brush. So I had maybe 4 feet of, I guess they call it like cover, and then or at concealment, actually. That's concealment, right? So I'm concealed by 4 feet, and I start going down this little ditch, and I go down, and I see him. He's like 40 or 50 yards down the road from where I was at. So I was like, that little son of a gun. So I gave him a couple of yelps, and he turns around, and he does a full strut in the middle of the road. He's spinning around, and then he does a gobble. Next thing you know, he goes up into the trees, and he's inside the trees strutting. And that's the last I saw him. I didn't even see where he went after that. After he was in those trees, I was like, he's going to come up to me. And then my decoy was back there. I'm like, I should go get her and put her up on this little hill next to me. Like, dink. Like, he could see from there. I know if I could take her and stick her up slow and then stab her in the ground right there. He's going to come this way.
You needed a camera rolling, man.
Dude.
That would have been some awesome footage. Having him strutting the road like that.
That would have been our only footage of turkeys.
Yeah.
He was crazy. So I came back to camp that night, and I was there before you because I didn't want to get there at dark, and you guys came in just before dark.
Yeah.
And I want you to tell everybody what happened to you guys up on the hill though, because we had an incident last weekend. Or the weekend before last, and then last weekend you guys had some sort of run-in up there.
Oh, and we're coming back to camp. Mm-hmm. So, well, before all that happened, we did run into some turkeys. We had 3 hens or whatever go scooting up right past us. They didn't want to give us the time of day. They came in silent, to be honest. Like,
yeah, we had no idea.
Cam just kind of saw them out of the corner of his eye. He's like, "Don't turkeys!" And we're in like mid conversation.
Yeah.
We're both squirrel.
Yeah.
We drop down to the ground. We're getting ready, and nothing happened. So we come up over this ridge, and we're heading back down to camp. And we're coming down, and all of a sudden we started just hearing just a weird noise, and we didn't really know what it was, really.
We were owl hooting, remember? We were trying to owl hoot.
Yeah. We were trying to just get something sparked up.
Yeah.
And it was a growl. We started hearing something growling. And we both were kind of just like, is that something growling at us? Like, what is that? And it wouldn't stop. It was a definite growl.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it was, and never heard a coyote growl before, so I'm pretty sure it wasn't that.
I don't know what it was.
We did hear wolves, the couple weekends that we were out there, we heard wolves howling.
Both times.
I'm not sure if it was that. There are signs of cougars out there, big cats. I don't know what it was. Chupacabra, I don't know.
Yeah. Earlier in that day, though, when we were coming back from our long hike, you saw some sort of animals take off. There was like 3 of them, you said, Dave?
Yeah. So we saw. Oh, I'm on mute. I thought I saw some type of dogs.
Yeah.
But there was somebody walking an animal, but they had it on a leash. So I'm not sure if they had 2 dogs off leash or whatever. I don't know. All I know is it wasn't a bird because it was on four legs.
Yeah.
And it was
scooting.
They were running pretty fast.
I never even saw them, and we were
right behind each other,
4 feet apart. So I came back to camp, and I was waiting for you guys, and all this transpired. When I got there, I was like, "So what happened?" I figured you guys were going to get a bird. They're like, "Oh man, nothing happened." Those birds, they're just gone, and we saw these hens in this growl and stuff. And so I was like, "Well, I'll tell you what, I saw about 80 toms, and they were everywhere over there. It was like a rut fest. I mean, it was wild." So that's our plan for day 2. We went over there, and we saw them right away in the morning. They were right down from where I had spotted them last.
The truck spooked them a little bit, and then they went back up in the woods. But they were right there, right where you had said. Just it was like 1 tom and probably 6 hens.
Yeah.
There was only. I think there was 2 toms.
Oh, you did say you saw a second one, didn't you?
Yeah, but he wasn't strutting. He wasn't doing nothing. I think he was a little
subordinate.
Yeah, I think he was a Jake. He was not trying to do anything with that tom.
Yeah, he got beat up.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna get mollywopped if I.
Yeah.
So we come up to a theory that after that tom was with those hens, almost exactly where I had a tom the night before, on that road, is that he was with those hens, but it was curious, but never wanted to commit because he had all those hens with him.
Yeah.
I never did see those hens, but they were within 100 yards of where I'd spotted them last. And so that ended up being our investment for the day. We did split up, and I went to the other side of this big field, and I had one gobble back down in the canyon when I went around the back side of the hill, and a million prairie dogs.
Everywhere out there, man.
And you guys had one gobble back way up high.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded like he was super close. So Cam and I actually split up. He went up kind of high, and I split off on another road. And just what we mean by road, it's not a road, but
Yeah.
it's
Walkable.
yeah. But we cut off, and I'm heading down this way, and all of a sudden I hear a gobble, and I'm like, Cam, you gotta get down here. For me, he's the shooter, unless there was 2 toms coming in. So I was just trying to get Cameron on a bird, and finally we have a gobble, and it sounds like he's close. So I was just like, dude, you gotta get down here. There's a bird. Like, he's sprinting down the hill. He drops the decoy.
Chuck the decoy. I said, I ain't carrying this extra weight, man. I gotta go.
He comes running down, and then he sees me and starts slowing down and stuff. And then we try to get a game plan going. And man, we thought we had this guy coming in. He was getting louder and louder and louder, and then all of a sudden he just shut up, and we're like, all right, let's try to ambush him. And then he just never gobbled again, and it was just like, dang.
Well, that road. So when I met up with Crane, we were sitting there, and we ended up getting on the side of the road on a hillside, and he was gobbling what sounded like up high, right, like up above us.
Yeah.
And there was a road that went straight up. Basically straight up, when you're walking on it, it feels straight up. So
we came back, and I was like, dang, this is steep.
yeah, it was a workout. So he was gobbling up above us, and so the first gobble Crane heard, I didn't get to hear, but the second time he gobbled, I heard, and he still sounded kind of up there behind some stuff, maybe looking away from us or something. But then he gobbled a third time to some calling, and it sounded like he had turned the road and was facing us. You know, he sounded a lot closer, a lot louder. You could kind of feel the energy in the gobble was like there, like he was responding to you, alerting you that he's like acknowledging you, you know, talking to you. But then after that, you know, he just, I don't know if he saw us like walking the road, but I don't know how he would have. He just vanished like a ghost, you know, like a turkey ghost. We were haunted by the mountain turkey ghost.
Yeah, it was weird.
Because we walked all the way, I mean, we got up so high that we could see him waiting at the parking spot waiting on us. Because we were up so dang high trying to find that bird. Yeah. I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, I was supposed to pick you guys up. I think it was 11:30 or something.
Yeah.
At 12:30, I was like, well, I better go back to the woods.
Yep. Yeah, because I took a picture and I sent it to Dave, and he just drove away. He was like, yep, it's going to take a while.
I didn't have any service. You know, I just ran out of patience.
Yeah,
I was like, well, they probably got something going, so I'm going to head back out.
Yeah. I was hoping you'd have, because, you know, we couldn't text you because you didn't have service. So I was hoping you'd be like, oh, well, maybe they're just on a bird and I'll go try to get on something else. I was like, dang, bro, he's going to be sitting there waiting for us for forever. I get up this mountain.
That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
So I went back down and I was going to hike up this other hill. And then I ran through a service zone, and you're like, on the way to the truck. And I was like, okay.
Dang it.
I just got all my stuff back on. I was halfway up the hill. I think it was like 84 degrees.
It was hot.
It was
hot.
So,
which I think was another issue, was it being so hot that the turkeys didn't want to be in their normal areas where they were last weekend, because they could be out in the open and be cool. So this past weekend, like I'm talking the weekend you guys got one, I think this past weekend they kind of changed up their routine, and that's why, you know, you guys are saying like, man, I don't get it why the birds aren't gobbling over here, because they always gobble over here. I think that's what happened, is the heat pushed them into a different kind of like loafing area and a hangout area, and we just weren't in that area for the rest of the day, you know, until you stumbled upon like a freaking flock of 100 of them.
They were in the shade, and they were just on the edge of on the light, you know. I had to look through the shade to see them. So they were just on the edge of the forest, yeah. They were ready to go back in those trees. Mm-hmm. And that's all the turkeys that I saw were like on the cusp. You know, I didn't see any really in the open at all.
So there's that field that field always has turkeys in it. And then that other field that went down into the bottom, there's usually a bunch of turkeys in there, which we never got to see because they were on like the back side of that property, so that it like rolls kind of down like that we can't really see. And then there's like the creek bottom that's like, if we're facing where the quad was,
yeah,
if we're facing it, there's a finger that comes down like this. They go into this like little gully back on the back side of that, and they kind of hold up in there, and it's it's private. We can't go in there.
Yeah. And even just to get up and around, you know, you're climbing another mountain. That's what I'm saying. It's crazy hunting these turkeys, and you're getting a workout in, you know. I mean, you can, like, there's some places back east, you know, people hunt that are like, you know, steep, and they got cliffs and bluffs and stuff. But I had never got to do that. You know, I've hunted ridges and stuff, but nothing too crazy. But stuff like that we hunted in this past weekend, I mean, that's not stuff you get to hunt every day being from South Carolina. So it's just, like, I keep going back to it's cool seeing turkeys live in that, you know, and thrive. It's cool seeing the different, because that's where my original love for turkeys is like habitat management. And so seeing the different types of landscapes and habitats they thrive in and what they eat, like you guys are showing me, well, we've seen this turkey eat, you know, this little yellow flower and stuff like that. It's cool for my brain to like pick up on those kind of things, because that's where my original love is for turkeys, is habitat stuff.
Yeah. Last weekend we were out there. Oh, sorry, I keep saying last weekend, but because I have this weird thing. You know, have people say next Friday, and you think it's like 2 days from now. I think it's like a week and 2 days from now. Like, and last weekend isn't the one we just left. It's the one before that. To me, I don't know. I've always been that way. But so 2 weekends ago, there was no flowers basically anywhere. We hadn't seen any of them out blooming or anything. When we went back, there was no snow. It was way hotter, and there was a bunch of flowers bloomed. You know,
yeah, so, everywhere, and like fields of them too. Like when we'd only see like one.
It was
like
just like
150 yards or something like that. Now it was just like they were like all over the place.
Well, now that we're talking about it, that could also have been another reason why they acted different, because they had feed in different areas. the weekend prior to when we went, they had feed in certain areas, and those are the areas you guys are in. But once everything bloomed up and all the bugs came out and everything, now they're like, oh, I don't have to just sit here and eat all day. I can go to the next ridge, and it's got the same amount of food and sunshine and stuff I need to thrive over there. So that's why they just kind of wandered off, I feel like, to that area, you know, when they went around that goalie and we couldn't get to them and never heard them again. I think they just moved off to a different area because they got feed everywhere now.
Yeah.
And they got to eat every day.
Yep.
And one thing I want to do is get better at dissecting the birds when you harvest them. I've been doing some more research on. And I've never took a bird down as far as I did on the last one I got. But we took the bird. I watched a video. It was on Meat Eater on Netflix, and they went hunting in South Carolina, and this guy stripped the bird down from the neck, peeled the feathers all the way down, was able to get almost all the meat off the bird. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to do that. So when I took my bird, we did that back in camp. We stripped it completely down, got the leg meat. Cam had a turkey melt tonight on the legs.
I had it like 10 minutes, now about an hour ago. But it was dang good, I'm telling you that.
And so I'll never leave another turkey leg in the woods. That sucker, I mean, it's perfect. But stripping the bird down completely to where you can see the full anatomy. And then I had it down to just this little tiny rib cage and the neck. The neck's kind of scrawny. Not like one you get from Thanksgiving, you know.
Yeah.
In this, I don't know what they would even call it, you know. But basically the rib cage and their intestines and all that entrails are in there. You got to get into that crop, you know. You got to see what they're eating. Because if I'd have known off that bird, like, hey, they're eating, they're just browsing things, right? And now if we would have took another bird, like, okay, now they're eating flowers, we could make a further
chest move.
Yeah, conclusion saying, hey, when we see flowers, this is what they're doing. They may be doing less cruising, and they're just hanging out, you know.
Well, in the time of year you kill a bird too, and you dissect him like that, then you can figure out where their feed habit changes. You know, is he more in a field turkey? Did I kill a field turkey that came off the field and I caught him in the timber, or am I killing a high elevation turkey that's eating those flowers? You know, which would be cool to kind of like figure out. Say you killed one the opening weekend, what he's eating on. Kill one 2 weeks before season goes out, see what he's eating on, and then you can make another chess move to figure out your game plan. It's like, okay, well, I know he's eating. It's May 15th. He's eating flowers. So now I'm up high eating, hunting flower beds or flower meadows and stuff because that's what they're eating on.
Yeah, that's a good one. Every
little breadcrumb is like, you know, another turkey toolbox tool you putting in there, you know. And
it's fascinating.
Some people will have millions of them. That's like the dudes like we were talking about this past weekend. They got like 6 box calls, 6 slate calls, 2 box calls, 7 different reeds. Because they're like, well, you never know what kind of call turkey likes that day. You don't know if he's going to like sassy, raspy lady or soft, sweet little Lucy that talks to you real nice, like calls you honey at the diner. You know, it's real. That's why I just love it so much because you never stop learning. You know, I learned stuff from hunting with you guys this weekend. Like coming back from east, you know, like I was saying, those pressure birds, they like the soft stuff. And then you kept telling me like, well, the birds out here like this stuff. And sure enough, they responded to what you were telling me they liked. And so it's just always good to be learning, you know, especially from other hunters. It's just fun.
Yeah, every single state, every single terrain, and you know, individually, every single bird has a different preference.
Yep.
And to get them to respond and get them to come in and commit, the one thing I will say, you know, I'll derive this from elk hunting experience, is that. And I can't remember who said this first, and probably somebody heard someone say it at some point or another. But if the turkey's doing what you want, don't do anything different. You know, once they're doing what you want them to do, keep doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You know, because you could turn them around.
Oh yeah, we've learned that firsthand.
That's my elk calling thing, because you know people would switch a call during elk calling, and then. You'll be like, oh, they're coming into cow calls. I'm going to switch back to a bugle, and then that's gone the other way. You know? And you're like, why did I do that? If they're coming in, just let them come.
Yep.
Don't fight it, you know? And to me, it seems almost like when things get to a point, it's like destiny. It seems like everything that you've done and prepared, it almost becomes like it was never going to not happen that day. You know? You're like, I got up at this time. I did everything, you know, the right way. And I got out there and I did some calls and I just stuck to that. And next thing you know, the gobble came and I did the same call, gobbled again. Oh, okay, sounds good. Let's do it a third time. Oh, it gobbled again. Sounds closer, right? Don't do anything different. Just let the bird do what the bird's going to do, because you could change their mind.
Yeah, you can change to another call, and they can be turned around and go the other way.
Yeah, every surface, every striker is going to have a different little tone, a little different personality to it, especially the way, like, our calling sounded completely different. But you've called in a bird and killed it, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's just another thing that we're touching on as far as, like, turkeys and their preference, you know? Maybe the turkey didn't like my calling and he liked your calling. Maybe he liked Sandana's calling. Maybe he didn't like no calling. Maybe he liked scratching, you know?
Yep.
I mean, you just seriously never know until you're in the moment with that turkey, you know?
Yeah, it was amazing, man. Every time I head out, I learned something new. And having you in camp, hearing your calling, I really was impressed by your calling. And it was just...
No, it was awesome.
Good. When you first started going, I was like, some bitch, we're going to for a treat. I was like, this guy's going to get us all.
I looked at Sandana and I was like, this guy's going to kill all the birds.
I tried telling him I take this serious, man. When I see it, there's not a week that goes by in a whole year that I don't think about a turkey. There's a book I got to get. Y'all both got to read it. It's called Illumination in the Flatwoods. And this dude, I forget how the book tells it, but he gets a turkey hatch, like a turkey, what do they call them? But like a
pluet?
Yeah, a batch of turkey eggs, basically.
Oh.
And so the way that the turkeys associate their mom with and the babies is eye contact. You probably know that from birds. I think it's the same way. All birds, when they hatch from their egg, the first thing they see and they make eye contact with is like their mom.
The imprint, yeah.
The imprint. So he got to imprint on this hatch of turkeys, and it's like all his journal entries from like raising these turkeys and literally learning how their social group. That's where I learned a lot about turkeys and how they interact with each other and how they even like establish the pecking order and stuff like that is from that book. So I got to get that, both of y'all. It's so good and so informational. And if you love turkeys, I mean, you're going to be interested in it the whole time.
Yeah, man. I'm in
What's
love
that
with turkeys.
book called again?
Illumination in the Flatwoods.
There you go.
Yeah,
everybody.
if you want to buy it on Amazon, I don't get nothing from it. But I'm telling you right now, if you love turkeys and you love, just reading, it's only like a 200-page book too, and it is full of information. I mean, it talks about like the group of him and the group of turkeys are walking through a creek bottom, and there's a rattlesnake over to the left or right or something, and they start putting. One of the lead hen would be like put put put, and the rest of the turkeys like they all pop up and they start looking, and it's just little stuff like that. He goes into a lot more detail, obviously, but it's a really good book, and it's a quick read.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
That's good. Yeah. I'm gonna hit
anything to learn,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're all here to do. We're here to learn. We're here to learn from other people. Get better, become better hunters and better stewards of the woods. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome hunting with you this past weekend.
It was a blast. I'm glad you guys
really cool.
Took me out. I appreciate that a lot.
Well, I wish more people would do that. You know what I mean? I mean, you were kind of like, didn't even want to come up and talk to me. When we first met. He was like, I don't know, man.
It's just, especially being from the South, a lot of people are more open and talkative and stuff, not necessarily about hunting, but just more open and talking and stuff. And Washington people have a stigma of being kind of like, well, I don't really want to talk to you. I don't know you. So when I came out here, I was like, well, I don't know if I really should approach a lot of people, But then you meet guys like you, and it's like, there's normal people out here. There's people that...
Who you call normal?
Well, you know what I mean. People that got the same ideas as you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It is cool to feel some normalcy, in a state that's so far away from where I grew up,
Yeah, it's hard, man. Living across the country, I did it the opposite from you. I went and lived in New Jersey, and it was kind of... I don't know. It's kind of strange how the difference in cultures and the difference in people and how they interact on a daily basis. So I understand what you're saying. It is kind of like, how do I act and what should I do and
what do I say?
Yeah, are they? What do you have in common? But the one thing I realized is, like, most people have the same interests you have. Most people have the same goals as you have, and it just always you have to make that reach. You can't just make assumptions on where you're at. Just go approach it fresh and go from there, and then you'll see like there's a lot to offer everywhere you go, and there's a lot of people out there that are jerks, but that's not the majority, and you're gonna have a great time if you just go forward and just be yourself, man. I mean, I feel like I've been hunting with you for a long time, you know?
Yeah,
like,
no.
it's only been
After
2
this
days.
podcast, I feel like we've been hunting together for like years.
We have to cut our hands and shake hands and be blood brothers, you know?
This instant, you know?
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, it's been great. Cam, we're definitely going to have another weekend of hunting coming up. We're going to try to figure out and iron out some dates for turkey season. And then basically for the rest of the hunting season, when you're going to be here in Washington, you know, I definitely want to go out with you and hunt with you some more.
I'd love it.
Yeah. Let's iron out some dates and make sure that happens. And then when you move, you got 2 brothers to call up to.
Yeah, I'm coming back to especially if I'm gonna get one this next time we go out. These turkeys in Washington ain't seen the last of me. I'm telling you, I'm coming. I'm getting one at least. You don't buy a tag for no reason.
That's right. Well, if you need a good tag soup recipe, you can just ask Dave here.
Ooh.
I got the bit.
It just got hot in here.
I'm sweating now.
Yeah.
I do got some tag
Got
soup
some
recipes.
Tabasco on
That's
that.
right. Ketchup.
All right. Well, I think that's where we're going to conclude the evening.
Yep.
It's been great. I mean, I feel like we're just back in camp, sitting on
just
our
hanging out,
cots.
man.
You know, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So
appreciate you guys having me on.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And
definitely.
you're also on Instagram too. You have a page on there.
Yeah, it's Spires Outdoors. It's nothing crazy, just me kind of posting whenever I go out, just having fun. You know,
Yeah.
if you want to follow it, you can. If not,
Well, that's what it's
more
all
power to
about,
you.
man. That's
Yeah.
what it's all about. We're out here just having fun, doing our thing, and showing people our story. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, have a good night. It's been a pleasure.
all
See you
right.
next time.
Dude, that was awesome.
Perfect timing because this is about to shut off.
Dude.